Hello, I'm Dr. Mandolin. I'm a rural doctor in Hokkaido who sees all kinds of cases as a general practitioner. Today, let's talk about The Lancet, the most prestigious medical journal in the medical world. I'll be talking based on the latest dementia report published by this journal in July 2024. The biggest risk factor for dementia is a certain everyday habit. It's not lack of exercise or diabetes. I'll be cutting through the common misconceptions about dementia from number 7 in order using medical evidence. Most people really overlook the top entry at the end. I'm sure you'll find something that applies to you or your family as well. If you watch this video until the end, you'll definitely find some tips to help prevent dementia starting today. So let's get started and look at the misconceptions about dementia from number 7 to number 5 all at once. Here's number 7. Lately, you can't remember people's names. Is this the beginning of dementia? Many people really worry about this, but don't worry. If you just can't remember names, in 9 out of 10 cases, it's normal age-related forgetfulness, which is very different from dementia-related forgetfulness. With age-related forgetfulness, you just can't recall things at the moment. Later on, you'll remember like, oh right, it was Mr. Tanaka. However, with dementia-related forgetfulness, you forget the experience itself. You don't even remember going out to eat with your family yesterday. Even if someone says, we went out for soba yesterday, right? You'll respond, I didn't go to a place like that. You must have left me behind. The characteristic is that the memory itself is completely gone. So if you've been having trouble recalling the names of things lately and start thinking, does this mean I or my mother has dementia? Please don't jump to conclusions. However, there are warning signs you should watch out for. For example, not being able to find your way home after shopping, or the steps in cooking becoming all mixed up, causing the usual taste of your cooking to change. If you notice these kinds of symptoms, you should be cautious. Actually, the most common type of dementia is Alzheimer's disease. The characteristics of this dementia include early difficulty in recognizing places, meaning you get lost easily, and a decline in understanding and judgment, which often leads to problems with complex household chores or cooking. Huh? Could it be? If you thought that, please make sure to watch the rest of this video. Here's the 6th most common misconception. Aluminum pots and vaccines cause dementia. Have you ever heard stories like using aluminum pots causes Alzheimer's, or that vaccines accumulate in the brain and cause dementia? To get straight to the point, these claims have been medically disproven. The story about aluminum pots and dementia became a topic of discussion in the 1980s. However, after various studies were conducted, no clear connection or relationship has been confirmed. And you often hear stories that vaccines or food additives might cause dementia, but there is no research evidence to support these claims either. So, what can we actually do to prevent dementia? In the following discussion, I'll talk about what's important for dementia prevention, so please listen to the top 5 misconceptions. Even if you stop using aluminum pots or avoid vaccines out of fear of non-existent threats, your risk of dementia probably won't change. The real enemy is something else. Misconception number 5. Dementia is a disease that absolutely can't be cured. If it can't be cured anyway, isn't it pointless to see a doctor and get tested? Many families feel this way. Let me make this clear right here. It's true that with Alzheimer's disease, it's difficult to fully recover. However, in the early stages before dementia develops, this is called MCI, or mild cognitive impairment. If you notice it at this stage and improve your lifestyle habits, it's said that you can delay the onset of dementia or even prevent dementia itself. So, if you've noticed your cognitive function has been declining recently, it's important not to just give up and think there's nothing you can do. Instead, it's crucial to detect cognitive decline early and work on improving it. And there's one more thing, this sometimes happens at my clinic as well. Someone will say, "Doctor, it seems like my parents' cognitive function has been declining lately," and they'll bring their mother to the clinic. However, when I listened carefully to their story, it turned out that it wasn't actually a decline in cognitive function. Instead, the symptoms were caused by decreased function of the thyroid gland in the neck, which had been mistaken for dementia. The thyroid gland is an organ in the throat shaped like a butterfly. When its function declines, the thyroid hormones it produces, which are like the engine of the body, also decrease. Since the engine isn't running, you don't feel motivated to do anything. Because your metabolism slows down, you may lose your appetite, experience swelling in your body, and have various other symptoms. In many cases, these symptoms are mistaken for dementia. In this case, just by prescribing medication to supplement thyroid hormones, a mother who was thought to have dementia can make a remarkable recovery. Diseases that are mistaken for dementia are not limited to just this. In fact, it's not uncommon for people to have a hematoma in the brain that causes cognitive decline, or to have symptoms similar to dementia due to a deficiency of the nutrient vitamin B12, or even to actually be suffering from depression. If you think you might have dementia, don't give up. There could be another underlying illness, and if it's caught early, there are things that can be done. Nowadays, new medications are also being developed. It's not that there are no options available, so please consider visiting your primary care physician or a memory clinic. So far, we've looked at rankings 7 through 5. If you realize you had any misunderstandings, or if you found this even a little helpful, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you register for our official Line account in the description, you'll receive a free summary of the latest Lancet report and a checklist for preventing dementia. I'll share the specific keywords at the end of the video. Now let's get to the main topic. In 4th place is a method that's often recommended on health programs. Let's take a look. In 4th place is that thing that's almost always recommended on health programs. Things like Sudoku, kanji puzzles, and brain training games. They say if you just do these, you can prevent dementia. There are a lot of people who believe this. However, if you read the latest research papers, your perspective might change a bit. The WHO, the World Health Organization, analyzed all kinds of methods when creating their guidelines for dementia prevention. As a result, brain training for people whose brains are already healthy was classified as having low or very low effectiveness in preventing dementia. There is a famous group called Cochrane, which analyzes high-quality research from around the world, and they also have a study that analyzed a total of over 1,100 people. Even in their conclusion, they did not reach the conclusion that brain training improves cognitive function. Of course, if you look at individual studies, there is some data suggesting that brain training may help prevent dementia. For example, according to an American paper, the group that did brain training exercises involving quickly recognizing and judging objects had about a 25% lower risk of dementia 20 years later. So your efforts may not be in vain after all. However, here's the important point. There is something that has been proven and is expected to be much more effective than brain training. That is exercise. In 2025, there was a study published in Nature, one of the world's leading medical journals. This study focused on elderly people, and it found that those who walked 3,000 to 5,000 steps a day experienced a delay in cognitive decline by an average of about 3 years. And remarkably, it was reported that those who walked 5,000 to 7,000 steps a day delayed cognitive decline by about 7 years. And that's with just about an hour of exercise a day. So, from the perspective of preventing dementia, taking a leisurely 1-hour walk around your neighborhood is actually more effective than desperately doing brain training at home. That's only natural because the act of walking itself provides stimulation, and exercise in general has a positive effect on things like high blood pressure, diabetes, and cholesterol, which are said to be causes of dementia. And when you're walking, you see all kinds of different scenery, right? Those changes in scenery themselves probably have a positive effect on the brain as well. If you can get benefits from just 3,000 steps, then about 30 minutes of exercise is fine. I definitely recommend exercise over brain training. Misconception number 3. A glass of red wine a day is actually good for the brain. Number 3 is a tough topic for those who like to drink. People say red wine is good for the brain because of polyphenols, or that alcohol is the best medicine, and that a little alcohol is good for your health. Some people think drinking a cup of sake daily may help prevent illness. Does anyone here believe this? It's true that for many years, the medical community has said that a small amount of alcohol might be good for your health. There's a term called the J curve. Just like the letter J in the alphabet, it was believed that the risk of dementia decreases with a small amount of alcohol, but increases if you drink too much. However, the latest research from 2024 to 2025 is starting to overturn this common belief. Whether you can handle alcohol well or not is something you're born with, right? Previous studies had overlooked this premise. Here's the conclusion. The conventional idea that a small amount of alcohol reduces the risk of dementia. The conclusion is that this was likely just an apparent effect. People who can drink alcohol in the first place, and those who have the leisure to drink, are generally healthy to begin with. And in the same year, the Lancet Commission on Dementia Prevention also reported that alcohol consumption is a clear risk factor for dementia. Of course, for those who have enjoyed drinking in the evening for many years, I'm not saying you should quit right away. I myself also enjoy drinking. So I just want to emphasize that you should not increase your alcohol consumption thinking it's good for your brain. According to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare's guidelines, a rough standard for alcohol is up to about 1 go of sake per day. It's important to have at least 2 alcohol-free days a week and to avoid drinking too much in general to help prevent dementia. So, to enjoy drinking for many years to come, please reconsider the balance between enjoyment and health. Now, let's move on to the second most common misconception. Dementia being hereditary is a common misconception leading to defeatist thinking like, my father and grandmother had dementia, so I'm bound to get it too. I often hear this in outpatient clinics. Some genes do increase your risk for Alzheimer's disease. There is a gene called APOE4, but actually about 1 in 4 or 5 Japanese people have this gene. And about 2 or 3 out of every 100 people have 2 copies of this gene. It is said that people who have this gene have several times higher risk of dementia compared to those who don't. Indeed, this is a medical fact. However, in 2025, an analysis that combined 3 large-scale studies from around the world was published. It included data from about 2,500 people. They implemented an intervention that improved these 4 areas together: diet, exercise, brain training, and management of vascular risk. As a result, people who had the dementia gene I mentioned earlier, APOE4, showed greater improvement than those who didn't have it. In other words, this is what it means. The higher your genetic risk, the greater the benefit you get from changing your lifestyle habits. So before you give up thinking it's just your family history, it's actually people like that who can change their future through things like exercise, blood pressure control, and diet management. After this, I'll talk about the number 1 most important factor in preventing dementia, so please listen until the end. Misconception 1. Hearing loss with age is normal, so you can ignore it. And now, the top misconception. People who leave this untreated have a higher risk of dementia than those who don't get enough exercise. That is hearing loss. It's normal for your hearing to decline as you get older. Leaving the TV volume high is fine, since hearing aids are expensive and seem unnecessary now, right? Actually, that's a common misconception. This is actually the most fatal mistake. In July 2024, The Lancet compiled the latest report on preventing dementia. They listed 14 preventable risk factors for dementia. Among them, the one considered to have the greatest impact on dementia was hearing loss. It is believed that about 7% of dementia cases worldwide are caused by untreated hearing loss. This is a higher number than things like lack of exercise, diabetes, or depression. Why is hearing loss so bad for the brain? The reason is simple. Our brain is like a super high performance computer, and our ears are like the keyboard that sends information to that computer, the brain. If the keyboard is slow to respond, your character input drops sharply. Eventually, a computer with less input gets used less, and its functions decline. The same thing is happening in the brains of people with hearing loss. In fact, according to one of the largest analyses ever conducted, published in 2024 and involving 1.5 million people worldwide, even a 1-level drop in hearing ability, like having a little trouble hearing quiet conversations, raises the risk of dementia by about 16%. And this is the most important point. Using hearing aids can help slow down the decline in cognitive function. There's a famous study in the United States called the ACHIEVE trial. It was a study involving people aged 70 to 84. They compared a group that used hearing aids with a group that didn't use them over a period of 3 years. When they analyzed only those participants who were at higher risk of developing dementia, they found that people who used hearing aids experienced a 48% reduction in cognitive decline compared to those who didn't use them. That's about half as much decline. Currently, there are no dementia medications on the market that can reduce the risk this much. Hearing aids have produced such results. If you find yourself asking your family to repeat themselves more often, or if your family tells you that the TV volume is too loud, don't just think it's because you're getting older. Please don't just laugh it off. Instead of thinking it's just aging, first visit an otolaryngologist and get a hearing test. And after consulting with your doctor, please consider using a hearing aid. This is something you can do starting today to help prevent dementia. This is the most important action you can take. Today, I shared the top 7 misconceptions about dementia, counting down from 7 to 1. Number 7, equating forgetfulness with dementia is a misconception. Number 6, the idea that aluminum, vaccines, or additives cause dementia has been scientifically disproven. Number 5, believing tests are pointless because dementia can't be cured is outdated. Number 4, exercise is far more effective than brain training. Number 3, the idea that moderate drinking is good for the brain is being overturned by recent research. Number 2, giving up because it's genetic is completely wrong. And number 1, ignoring hearing loss because you think it's just due to aging is the most dangerous mistake. Dementia is not a matter of fate. According to the latest report from The Lancet, by improving our lifestyle habits, about 45% of dementia cases worldwide can be prevented or delayed. In other words, nearly half of it depends on our choices. I especially want you to take note of this. These are the 4 most important things for preventing dementia. Don't ignore hearing loss. Exercise even just 30 minutes a day. Manage your blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol. Limit your alcohol intake. Just being mindful of these 4 things is very likely to lower your risk of dementia. I'm not saying you have to do everything, so please let me know in the comments which of these you think you can do. Also, please enter the keyword NINTOR in the official line link in the description. We're offering a free PDF with a summary of today's latest Lancet report and a hearing loss checklist for family members. Please make use of it. That's all for today's lesson. This was Dr. Mandarin from YouTube Elo Dajier. Please take care of yourself. See you in the next video. How not to grow old from your 70s onward. From what my patients taught me as a general practitioner, I want to live like this too. I never knew this way of life existed. These stories share lessons I've learned from many patients. Chatting with friends is more important than exercise. And when it comes to medicine, less is often more. This is packed with wisdom from my seniors on how to live a healthy and happy life at any age. Please check it out from the description below.